6 Nights On. By Helen. I love my schedule. I work 6 nights in a row, then I get 8 days off. Is it tough? Oh yes. The shift turns your world upside down. Your days blur into nights, and your body never quite adjusts. But when that last shift ends and I step outside into the morning light, with a full week ahead of me and not a minute of PTO used, worth it. Every time. What I don't love, what wears on me more than the night shifts, the alarms, or even the sorrow, is being assigned to the same patients for all 6 nights. Some would say it's a blessing, continuity of care, and sure it is. For the patient, there's comfort in a familiar face, trust built night by night. But for us nurses, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you bond with your patient. You see them improve. You see the color return to their face, the anxiety leave their eyes. And sometimes you stay long enough to watch them go. You become their final witness. You carry the weight of their last words, their last breaths, their unfinished stories. Over the years, I've had my share of these sticking cases. Patients I'll never forget. Patients whose names still echo in my mind during quiet moments. Not because of what they said, but because of how deeply they made me feel. How much they reminded me that every life is a thread in a much larger tapestry, and we only ever get to glimpse a corner of it. Let me tell you about a few of them. Case 1, myasthenia gravis. Still strong as a bull. He was 57, still strong as a bull. Big chest, solid arms, working man hands with old scars and a grip that could still crush a handshake. Do you know what myasthenia gravis does to someone like that? That name, Latin and Greek, soft and dignified like an ancient goddess. Sounds harmless, doesn't it? Elegant even. But this illness, it doesn't arrive like a goddess. It creeps in like a thief, stealing strength one breath at a time. It starts subtle. Drooping eyelid. Slurred speech. Maybe you just feel tired, too tired. But then your smile fades, not because you're unhappy, but because your muscles can't hold it anymore. You can't chew, you can't swallow, you can't lift your head. And eventually, if it spreads the way it did with him, your chest forgets how to rise. Your lungs stop following commands. He was already intubated when I took over on night 1. Still alert, still himself. That's the thing about myasthenia gravis. Your mind stays sharp. You're fully aware, watching your body betray you. He couldn't talk, but we figured out a system. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no. That strong hand of his could still point, tap, give a shaky thumbs up. I learned quickly he hated sedation, didn't want it, refused it every time the team offered. I'm still here, his eyes said. Don't drug me out of it. And he was, entirely present. 6 nights in a row, I sat with that presence. On night 3, when his heart threw out a few angry ectopic beats, I caught it, sat with him, let him squeeze my hand, listened to the silence of the room, the whisper of the vent. On night 5, I played the blues on my phone for him. He tapped his finger in rhythm. Turns out we both loved the same muddy southern blues. On night 6, he blinked, once, held my gaze longer than usual, didn't let go of my hand. He survived, but he was transferred to a long-term acute care hospital before my next shift. I never saw him again, but I still remember his room. I remember the ECG monitor forming a message in jagged waves, like it was trying to speak for him when he couldn't. People think strength is about lifting, fighting, standing tall, but I watched a man face paralysis, suffocation, silence, and never blink in fear. Just once, for yes. Yes, he was still here. Case 2, DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. Sweet breath and burning souls. She was only 28, just a girl really. Wild curls, black eyeliner smudged from the night before, pink socks with tiny kittens on them peeking out from under the hospital blanket. Her chart said newly diagnosed type 1 diabetes. Her labs screamed DKA. She came in crashing, nauseous, vomiting, breathing like she'd just run a marathon. Her blood sugar was 762. Her breath was sweet, not the sweet of bubble gum or candy. It was a deep, sickly sweet chemical sweetness, like nail polish remover. That's the smell of acid in your blood, the smell of your cells burning themselves for fuel. I started fluids, insulin drip, hourly checks. She moaned and thrashed. Her face was so pale under the smudged makeup, almost glowing. Her eyes rolled back, but she still whispered something through the oxygen mask. I leaned in. "What was that, honey?" She whispered again. It was barely audible. "He's in the corner." I turned. Of course, no one was there. Just the monitor's green flicker, the IV pump's hum. But the air felt off, thick, like heat rising after a storm. I asked again, gently, "Who's in the corner?" She nodded, barely. Her lips were dry, cracked. "He followed me from my dreams. He said it was time." Now, I'm not one to scare easily. Nurses can't afford it. We see too much. We survive by tucking fear under our scrubs and getting on with it. But something about her voice gave me chills that climbed all the way up my spine. Her potassium was crashing. Her ABG looked like a horror movie. The intensivist came. We stabilized her. Just in time. She made it through the shift. By morning she was drowsy but coherent, and the corner was just a corner again. Later that week, on my night off, I dreamt about her. She stood in the middle of my I.C.U, IV pole beside her, kitten socks still on. And behind her, in the corner, just where she said, was a figure. Too tall, too still, eyes like smoke. I woke up drenched in sweat, and when I came back for my next set of shifts, I asked about her, discharged, doing better, blood sugar stable. But I still think about what she saw, what I saw, and sometimes, when I pass that empty room on a quiet night, I glance at the corner, just in case. Case 3, locked-in syndrome. The eyes that screamed. He was 42, a runner, a dad, a software engineer. A stroke dropped him mid-sentence during a Zoom call, massive brainstem infarct. By the time we got him, it was already too late. He wasn't dead. Worse, maybe, he was locked in, fully alert, fully aware, but his body was gone. Couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even blink properly at first. Only his eyes. The eyes stayed. I remember the first night I walked into his room. The monitor beeped steadily. The vent hissed. His wife had taped pictures of their daughters on the wall, one of them holding a soccer trophy, the other mid-jump in a ballet recital. There was a dry erase board with yes-no questions and a large letter chart I used to spell out words with him, one slow blink at a time. I introduced myself like I always do. "Hi, I'm your night nurse. My name is Helen. I'll be with you tonight." His eyes met mine, direct, intelligent. And behind them, a scream. Not a literal one, but I've never felt anything so loud in total silence. By night 2, I was learning how to read his cadence. Long blink, yes. Quick double blink, no. Wide eyes, panic. But something was different that night. He was agitated, heart rate up, trying to move, failing, blinking rapidly. I leaned in. "Are you in pain?" "No." "Scared?" "Yes." "Is something wrong in the room?" "Yes." I turned slowly. Nothing. Just shadows. Machines. The faint blue glow from the monitor. But the air felt wrong again. Like the moment right before lightning strikes. He was trying to tell me something else. I pulled out the letterboard. His eyes flicked. DARK. Then stopped. I waited. Dark what? He looked away. Then back at me. Tried to blink, but one eye wasn't moving. I felt the chill like a rush of wind. His functioning eye teared up, one drop sliding down. The stroke team came in. Repeat scans. Something had changed. Another bleed. Small, but it explained the weakening eye. I stayed late that morning, held his hand as they repositioned him. "Don't give up," I whispered. "I'm still here." He survived. Transferred to neuro rehab. I visited him once, months later. His wife said he always asked for the night nurse with the cold hands, but what haunts me wasn't his condition or even his eyes. It was what he never finished spelling. Dark. What? I still don't know. But some nights, when the lights flicker for no reason and I feel a weight at my back when I'm alone in a room, I think of his face. And I wonder if he saw something in that silence the rest of us aren't meant to see. Case 4. Sepsis. The room that smelled like earth. She was 76. Came from a long-term care facility, nonverbal after a previous stroke. PEG tube, contractures, a DNR on the chart, but full treatment for infection. They sent her in with a fever, tachycardia, and low blood pressure. We knew what it was before labs came back. Sepsis, and not a new one. This had been smoldering. Her skin was cool and damp, her breathing shallow. We hung antibiotics, started norepinephrine. Her central line was fragile, tissues mottled. The room smelled like sweat and antiseptic, until it didn't. I remember it vividly. On night 2, as I walked in to check her vitals, I smelled earth. Not rot, not infection, but dirt, fresh soil, moss after rain. Like the deep woods. I paused at the door. Everything looked normal, except the air was heavy, humming. The curtain by the window was moving, even though there was no draft. The cardiac monitor blipped erratically, then steadied. I stepped in. Her eyes were open. No one told me she could open them. She was supposed to be unresponsive, but she was staring at the ceiling, wide-eyed. A look I've seen before, not fear, not pain, recognition. I whispered, "Mrs. P, can you hear me?" No response, but her gaze didn't shift. I followed her eyes upward. The ceiling vent was still. The monitor was silent for just a second too long. Then I saw it, a shimmer, like heat waves, but cooler, darker. Something standing above her. No shape, just presence. I checked her pulse, thready. Her map was dropping. I called for backup, but I already knew. She coded 14 minutes later. We worked on her anyway, per the family's request. But she was already gone. Honestly, I think she was halfway gone before we started compressions. Afterward, I sat in the empty room to chart. The soil smell lingered. I noticed something odd in the bed frame where her hand had been resting. A faint, muddy print. I cleaned it. I always do. But the smell of earth didn't fade until the next patient was placed in that room 3 days later. He made it, but he mentioned something strange during his recovery. "Is this the room where the woman passed?" I blinked. "Yes. Why?" He looked at me and said, "Because every night I dream I'm sinking into the ground. But not in fear. It feels like someone is pulling me home." Case 5. Alcohol withdrawal. CIWA protocol. The man who heard the bells. He was 61. Admitted from the ER for acute alcohol withdrawal. Not his first time. Thin, leathery skin. Yellowed sclera. Tattoos from another life. A serpent curling up his arm. A ship on his chest. He told me he used to be a longshoreman. Now he was here, trembling under the weight of his past and the poison he couldn't stop drinking. Saiwa every hour. Benzos titrated to his hallucinations and tremors. He hadn't slept in days. "Do you hear that?" he asked me on night 1, eyes darting to the ceiling. "Hear what?" "The bells." His voice cracked. "They always start before the woman shows up." I assumed it was delirium. I documented it, gave Ativan, checked vitals. BP, 174/98. HR, 129, diaphoretic, agitated. CIWA, 22. I stayed a little longer, just to make sure he didn't seize. He was staring at the corner, always the same corner. "You don't see her, do you?" he asked. "No," I said gently. "Who is she?" He took a shaky breath. "She wears black and a veil, and she rings these little bells from her fingertips. She walks out of the sea to collect people like me." That was night 1. On night 2, he was worse. He'd pulled out his IV, tore the O2 off his nose, soaked in sweat and shaking violently. I called the rapid response. We restrained him lightly. Restarted the line. He was muttering by then. She's here. She's here. When he finally slept, if you could call it sleep, he thrashed, talked, wept. Then something strange happened. The room got cold. Too cold. I checked the thermostat, normal. But I could see my breath. And there, in the silence between monitor beeps, I heard it. Tink, tink, tink. Faint, like wind chimes, but rhythmic, deliberate, bells. I turned to the corner. Nothing, but the shadows felt heavy. I didn't sleep well the next day. I dreamt of low tide, fog on the shore, and a woman walking toward me in a black veil, dragging something behind her in the surf. When I came back for my next shift, I learned he had seized on day shift, full tonic-clonic, rapid sequence intubation, I.C.U. He survived. Again. This wasn't his first near miss, and likely wouldn't be his last. But when they wheeled him past the nurse's station, he turned his head toward me and said, barely audible, "She said not this time, said you were in the way." I never went into that room alone again. Even when it was empty, I swear I still heard the faint ringing of bells. It's 4 p.m. The sun's still out, but I'm already brewing coffee. It's night 6 of 6, and my body knows it. I'm tired. My bones ache. My soul's a little quieter, but my heart still full. I have more stories to tell. So many more. Stories that stayed with me. Stories that still wake me up at 2 a.m. Stories that remind me that nursing isn't just a job. It's a front row seat to the edge of life, and sometimes beyond it. If any of these stories touched you, made you think, made you feel, leave a comment. Let me know. Would you like me to continue? Because I will. These memories deserve breath. You can check out my other audio stories and subscribe to my channel. There's more coming. Always more. And until then, live your life to the fullest. Live it today. Live it now. Because we never really know about tomorrow. With love, Helen.